Hi guys, welcome back to Unfiltered. Today's episode, this one has been sitting in my mind for a while. It's one of those thoughts that starts small, but the more you sit with it, the more you realize it actually affects almost every part of your life. Friendships, relationships, the advice you take, the advice you ignore, everything. So today I want us to talk about that thought, perspective and perception, and why people behave the way they do. You see, I've come to realize something here. A lot of people don't treat you based on who you are. They treat you based on who they are. Some people talk to you the way they want to be spoken to. Some help you the way they wish someone helped them. Some advise you based on their own fears, regrets, or past mistakes. It's not always about you. Sometimes they are talking to themselves or a younger self through you. That's why parents, for example, give advice that feels outdated or overly cautious. It's not because they don't believe in you, it's because their experiences shaped their perspective, and that's the lens they're using to see life. So, a lot of the advice you get is not objective, it's personal, it's filtered through someone else's story. And because it makes sense on the surface, you take it. But deep down, some of those things don't actually apply to your life. Now, let's talk about perception. Most conflicts in our relationship don't come from what we said. They come from how it was interpreted. You might say something, sarcastic or just something plain because that's the way you talk on a regular day. But the person hearing you has had a rough day, or they carry insecurities, or they grew up in an environment where sarcasm sounded like insult. Suddenly, your armless jab becomes a wound. And this is why I personally don't like certain issues over text. Text gives people too much time to overthink, assume, reinterpret, and misread what you never meant. A simple okay can become an argument. A delayed reply becomes disrespect. A voice note could sound harsh because of how their day is going. But on a call or face to face, you can hear the tone, can clarify immediately, and there is less room for imagination to fill the silence. Because let's be real, people don't always respond to your words, they respond to their perception of your words. And that perception is shaped by their past. Maybe they've been manipulated before, so everything sounds like gaslighting. Maybe they've been abandoned, so every silence feels like rejection. Maybe they self-sabotage because they don't even believe good relationships are real. This is why perspective and perception are so powerful. Two people can say the same thing and feel two completely different emotions. So, perspective is the angle, the immediate response to a stimulus, while perception is the picture, how people have, seen life over time. So, basically, a flawed perspective will always lead to a distorted perception. If someone has lived their whole life believing people always hurt me, every disagreement will look like an attack. Every correction will feel like criticism. Every boundary will look like abandonment. Now, it's not that the person is bad, really. They are simply responding through a lens they didn't choose, a lens life gave them. Now, here is an important one. Not all advice is meant for you. Some advice is projected, not pertinent. So, before taking advice, ask yourself, is this really coming from my reality or theirs? Because, quite frankly, some people are advising you from their pain, some from fear, some from experience, some from imagination, some from insecurity, and some from patterns they haven't broken. So, learn to filter. I promise you are not rude for choosing what works for your life. Now, perspective and perception shape everything, especially friendships and relationships. You need people who don't constantly misinterpret your intentions. people whose perception doesn't always cast you as the villain, people who can see your heart even when your words aren't perfect. Because the truth is, you can be saying the right thing in the right way, but if their perception is damaged, they will definitely receive it wrong. And that's not something you can fix alone. So, what do we do? Do we stay and help people unlearn, or do we choose people who are already aligned with our worldview? In my opinion, both options are valid, so let me lay them out. The first option is to be patient, help them unlearn. This actually takes time, it takes emotional consistency, and it only works if they are willing to change. If they see from your point of view, you really must have the emotional strength to wait the process. Yeah. And the second option is just choose alignment instead of struggle. Just go with somebody that see the world from your POV. This comes with less emotional labor, fewer misunderstanding, more peace, clear communication from the start. Now, none of this is wrong, I promise you. Just ask yourself, what can my mental health genuinely afford? Because here's the truth. You can't love someone into changing. Change only happens when they see the need for it. So, if their perception constantly hurts you or drains you or misreads you, then maybe the kindest thing you can do for the both of you is to simply let it be. So today's takeaway is simple. People behave the way they do because of their perspective and perception. It doesn't make them good or bad. It just makes them human. But you owe it to yourself to protect your peace, choose your people wisely, and filter the voices that speak into your life. So, as always, keep your heart unfiltered, but not unguarded. And if this episode touched you in any way, I think you should share it with someone who might need it today. So, thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.